Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. When they hear owner finance, they think unicorn.
People think unicorn?
Yeah, because like anytime someone hears owner finance, they think of like purchasing from an owner or doing some other manner of craziness that just doesn't really exist. And so
Well, no. I mean, I've done hundreds over. I got into owner financing back in 2008 when the market collapsed. I had, at that point, I became a full-time real estate investor in 2005. When the market collapsed, I had 61 doors, all rented Section 8. And I was doing well. I was self-managing. I hated my life. I mean, seriously.
Oh my God. Why would you self-manage?
Self-managing. And I had no life. I was not the fabulous creature you see before you now. I was going down to like the ghetto every day. I hated my life. I did. I hated it. It just sucked. Yeah, and so I had, I was fortunate because people were like, well, God, you got 61 doors in 3.5 years. You're still an investing badass, and I was young, I was, just turned 30. And so people were like, my God, you're freaking hustling. And so a lot of, and the market just collapsed and I'm holding all these Section 8 rentals. And so all of these older, really powerful real estate investors were going, dude, you're not bankrupting. Everybody else is bankrupting. Like 75% of real estate investors, they're gone. And I'm still there. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, I'm not bankrupting. Nobody's giving me money. I mean, the money's gone. There's no money for me. I look like crap on paper. I went from being a millionaire on paper to being really penniless on paper, like being worth negative dollars on paper. So nobody was going to give me money. But they were like, okay, yeah, let's teach you how to owner finance. And I'm like, okay, well, I hate my renters. So yeah, let's do that. And so as soon as like an owner finance, like one of my Section 8 tenants would move out, I started wrapping those mortgages that I had. And yeah, so then I ended up with all these owner finance loans. And I was having, in some months I had 61. So I was having, in some cases, 3 tenants leave a month. And so, okay, well, I've got all these ads out there and all of these owner finance buyers. Well, then I'm like, well, I've got all these great buyers for owner finance properties. I don't want them to go to waste. All right, well, are there any other investors who have some great houses that they want me to put a really great buyer in? So then I started filling all of these other houses and taking fees for filling houses with. And so then I got really good at just originating owner finance loans and teaching people a couple of years down the road, okay, well, this is how you originate loans. And then I started teaching realtors how to do it and, yada, yada, yada. You're teaching people how to, stack the stuff. Where are we now with it? It's not rocket science to owner finance anything. It's how to do it smart and legally, to not, make some stupid errors. People do, it's math. If you can sit there and mathematically work out the numbers and not do something dumb, you'll get it. But it's not a unicorn. They are everywhere. And I'm not kidding you. For every property that I've ever had, I've had 30 buyers for it. Now, were all of those buyers good or qualified? No, but I've had 30 people who wanted it easily. Every time. And right now, yeah, absolutely. And do they all have to be owner occupant? No. You could sell it to an investor, or a contractor. If you had something that needed a lot of work and you didn't have any money to fix it up, I've done that before. So you can always discount it and go, okay, well, yeah, I've got this house that needs a lot of work. Is there somebody who wants to, yeah, hey, it's worth $80,000 if it's fixed up, but hey, I'll sell it to you for 60, even if it needs exactly $20,000 worth of work, Okay. Somebody will buy it for 60.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And you can owner finance it. You can owner finance literally anything. And that's the beauty of it.
Well,
So
a while ago you said that you would wrap the loan. Can you kind of explain what that means?
sure, wraparound mortgage, that is where you have underlying debt. So you can have a mortgage from anyone, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. You could have a private mortgage. So I can go and lend you money, right? I can go and give you a loan. And then you can go sell that property to somebody and go lend them money on it and not pay that loan off to me or not pay that loan off to Bank of America. That's called a wraparound mortgage. Why do we do that? Because mathematically, let's say that I lend you money at 5%, okay? And then you go and sell it for more money at 10%. That means you're making 5% interest off the money that you borrowed from me, and then you're making 10% off the profit. So you can actually make profit off the money that you borrow. And that's why you do a wraparound. Now you can also do a second, right? You can also do a second if you want to, but that's why you don't do that. And you do something called a wraparound mortgage because you're capturing and you're actually making profit off of what you borrow.
That is just awesome. I'm so excited.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why we do a wraparound mortgage. That's what it's called. So just so you make profit. Okay. So what is owner financing? Just what we're talking about. So, so when you have a buyer and instead of having to go to a bank, right? So how many of these buyers are out there? Why is this so important today? Credit froze up 2 weeks ago. It happened 2 weeks ago. And this is, if anybody knows me, was it 2 weeks ago? Actually, well, for anybody out there watching, yes. I was tested for COVID 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I was tested for COVID. And that week, credit froze up, which meant that the banks had basically decided to stop lending. So they rose the minimum credit score to 700. So if you have a 700 minimum credit score, you can get a loan. And if you have to have 20% down, basically takes majority of Americans out of buying a house.
Absolutely.
Now, houses are still closing, and I keep asking all of my realtor friends, hey, what's going on? Who's got closings? But I also know that real estate investors in general are pretty much full of shit. So I'm also calling title companies. Hey, you're laughing, but it's true. Hey, who's selling what? From what I've heard, I've called some friends who own title companies as well. Hey, what do you, what do you see? What do you know?
What are you actually closing?
What are you actually closing? I'm hearing a lot of owner finance deals are closing. A lot of owner finance notes are closing. So like my friend who services owner finance notes, yeah, she's got deals coming in. The other thing that's coming in, land deals. I hear a lot of land deals are closing, but other than that, no. I mean, that's about it. So a lot of stuff is getting stalled, kicked down. I mean, even though things are opening in title, they're stalling right now. Again, I don't know what that means. If people have large amounts of cash, if people put down 40 or 50%, yeah, sure, that stuff's gonna close. But anybody who had that 10% down, I don't care what your mortgage broker told you, that stuff's not getting through. Unless you've got a lot of assets, and it is something direct with that bank, and maybe it's a private small bank and they're keeping that loan in-house. But man, I highly doubt it. And here's the other reason why all of these banks right now are doing the PPP loans. So as soon as those banks were required by the government to start using all of their time to do all of the SBA PPP loans, they don't have time to process any home loans. So who the hell are processing these home loans? There's no home loans getting through. So what are you all talking about? So anyways, yeah, it's 700 minimum credit score. So there's no home loans being processed. So very few are closing.
I've even heard that it's up to 750 in some banks they're pushing 750.
Yeah, I have too. I heard 750, 700. So
and that's just crazy.
Right. So right now we're seeing stuff already go to basically what it was back in 2008, where credit, back then it was something like 85% of Americans couldn't get a home loan. We're going to see stuff in the next 3 to 6 months move to 2008 will pale in comparison to where we're going. I weep for what we've done to this country. It's sad. It breaks my heart for what we've done. Was it necessary? I don't know.
We're really strapped, and everybody's based in credit and paycheck to paycheck, and
well, for half of the nation who is paycheck to paycheck, I am very, very sad for half of our nation. It breaks my heart.
And the people that are jumping at the stimulus and the unemployment, and when you inject that kind of cash into the market,
yeah,
you just make it's already worthless. It's only worth $1 because we think it's worth $1. But when you have injected that much more into the money supply, it's worth even less, and people don't even recognize it yet.
Well, the cost of food is already up 25%. The sad thing is, who is this going to hurt? It's going to hurt the poor. It's going to hurt one demographic, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. So,
and it's done. It's done, and we just have to sit back and unfortunately watch. So anyways, you've got 85% of Americans who will not be able to get a mortgage. It's going to be worse this time around. I think we're talking 90%, 95. You're looking at 20% down, 25% down maybe, that will be headed towards at least. Are we going to see a drop in, property values? Absolutely. 3 to 6 months. I used to say 10%. I think more, we're looking 15, 20% drop in property values. I don't see how we can avoid that because, we're projected around 40% defaults. 40% defaults, and that kind of foreclosure rate, I don't see how we could avoid, if we're flooding the market with foreclosures again, I don't know how we couldn't have a decrease in value.
Well, there's no other way to clear the market than to drop prices.
Right. So all of this says we're going to owner finance, and this is something that you have to have in your tool belt. And 2008 was great for me. I'm not kidding you. Has it made me the successful investor that I am today? Absolutely. Absolutely. I am extremely thankful, to the mentor that I had who, he just said, hey, let me teach you how to do this, and, at that time he had a very bad person in his office who had he didn't realize it was going on, but all of a sudden he discovered he had all these, like a couple hundred vacant properties, that, and he let me owner finance all of those for him. So all of a sudden, I'm running around owner financing all these properties for him. So I got just a ton of great experience being able to owner finance all these things for him, and they were not really in great condition, but, here I am getting to run comps, price them out, decide, okay, what's the rental value? How do you price these things out? So is this completely legal? Yes. People are all worried about, oh my gosh, I'm wrapping this and I've got something called a due on sale clause. Get over it. Believe me, in the last decade, I I've been involved in hundreds of these things, wraparound mortgages. How many have been called by a bank? None. I personally got a phone call from Bank of America on a loan that I wrapped, on a personal mortgage of mine that I wrapped. And remember, in a deed of trust written by one of these banks, they all have something called a due on sale clause. And Bank of America called me up and said, hi, we noticed that you sold this property listed at this address. And I said, oh, right, yeah, I did. And instantly I'm thinking, oh shit, how am I going to pay this off, right? I'm like, okay, blah, blah, but I smiled and I was like, right, yeah, I did. I owner financed it to something else and blah, 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 and in the back of my mind, I'm like, crap. But, I just said, hey, yeah, that's what I did, because obviously they know. And he goes, okay, are you still going to be making your payments? And I'm like, well, yeah. And he goes, okay, cool, thanks. That's all I wanted to know. And I was like, okay, cool. Never heard from him again. And everything was fine. And I was like, okay. And I was like, sweet. So believe me, they don't care. Keep making your payments. And when we're talking about, everybody's like, oh, let's put it into a land trust. Never put these into a land trust. The reason why you don't use a land trust is because it really screws over the homeowner, because they can never homestead that property, so their property taxes are really high, and it has to go into a commercial insurance policy, so their insurance is like 4 times as much. Wow. It's also, all it does is cloud title, so it's like a last-ditch effort, and the banks don't care. And in an environment like this, when you're looking at 40% defaults, those banks just want to get paid. They're not going to take back and foreclose on something where all of a sudden we're looking at losing, 20% value here in the next year. They're not going to do that. It's just, it's just not important. So again, and especially if they're looking at losing interest rates. I mean, if we're talking about interest rates are going to be at all-time lows here. Totally, maybe if all of a sudden interest rates skyrocketed to 12%, they could lend that money out again, but highly, highly doubtful. So more common in a buyer's market, very, very valuable tool. And there's going to be a flood of properties on the market, and it's going to be an investor's dream come true if you have cash, and if you can, if you're not wiped out by everything going on, not to be one of these happy people who has been waiting for this for a while, but I can't deny that I have been. So
well, we're not sitting on a bunch of cash just because we like to sit on cash.
Can't maybe say that went to cash about 2 years ago or anything like that, but maybe I have. Identify the property to be sold. Again, just like anything. So when you're setting up this transaction, you're gonna go out, you're gonna find your property, right? Again, a lot of these that you're looking for, we are blessed. I'm talking to you from Texas. Any place, especially Hispanic areas, are the best places to do this. Why? Hispanics tend, especially when you're dealing with any place that they have ITIN numbers, ITIN. That a special group, they don't trust banks. They love to bury their money out in a box in the backyard or stuff it under the mattress. And they live to own property because it's a fast track to get citizenship. All they want to do is be citizens, and they want to own a piece of the United States. It is a big deal. They do not want entanglements with any type of government entity. It is a nightmare to be in front of a judge. And they will forego electricity. They will forego water. They don't need a cell phone or cable, but they will have a roof over their heads. So their priorities are in line with their mortgage. Those are the neighborhoods that you're really looking for. So if you can find, any house there and look at your condition, your value. For me, when I'm going in to rehab a house, I want to make sure that I'm not setting somebody up for failure. So I want to make sure that that roof, you know, that the HVAC, that foundation, that all of that stuff is in really good condition, because those are expensive items. And, you know, the flooring needs to be in good condition, and the walls need to be in good condition. You know, can the paint all be one color white? Yes, because people don't all have the same taste. You know, you can just have one, you know, basic wood floor, right? And it can just be a basic, everything can be a neutral color. People can come in and change a paint color, or 2 years down the road, they can put down a new tile or something like that. That's easy, and people can do that themselves, and they can change, you know, they can decide to put up wallpaper, or they can decide to put up different curtains or something like that, or a different paint. But that big important stuff like roof, foundation, HVAC, you need to make sure that that is in very good working condition. There are a lot of unscrupulous investors out there who sell owner finance, and their goal is to turn that property, kind of like those very unscrupulous car salesmen. And, you know, they sell these nasty cars, and they sell them to anybody, and they get a big down payment, and they have a low jack on that car, and then the person can't make those payments, and they go and repossess that car. And that car has, in title, has been owned by like 20 people in like the last 3 years. And it's a very bad thing to do to somebody. So, you know, think about that as same way as a house. You know, it's, you know, that's a full-time job. When I sell a house, I mean, the houses I've sold to people, I've sold them once, you know, and believe me, that's a really good business model. If you are just collecting money, you have a lot of time just to build a business on collecting payments. And all the investors who I know who do it right and set it up just to have reoccurring payments, like a bank, that have never, you know, do it like a bank. Build your business like a bank, like the house, because the house always wins. And so if you set it up like that, you're going to have a successful business. So model yourself after the banks, because those are the ones that have all the money. The banks never set up their business to repossess houses, and they never want to foreclose. They never want to take that property back. And so if you set up your business like that, you're going to always win. So just keep that in mind. I know that there's a lot, especially here in Texas, I can think of like 2 or 3, and they will, you know, you can go buy their system, but make sure when you're doing it that, you know, take that with a grain of salt, and remember that those guys aren't doing as well as what they project. And I'm quite sure they're not, because, you know, how could they be? Because they're not running their business like a bank. Advertise. Facebook Marketplace, I'm going to tell you right now, is the #1 place. I can sell an owner finance deal in a matter of hours on Facebook Marketplace. But yard signs. Neighbors will sell a house, you know, especially in a Hispanic neighborhood, because they like to live really close to their family and friends. And they'll be driving, like their mom or their aunt or somebody lives around the corner, and they're going to be like over for a barbecue, and they'll be like, oh my God, look, there's a house for sale right here. Can I own it? Right? And all you have to do, as messy as possible, you just write owner will finance, you know, owner will finance, bad credit, okay. Put how many bedrooms and put your number on it. The key though is have really bad handwriting, make it legible. But people are always like, well, why do you always say bad handwriting? Because they think bad handwriting means that you're not very savvy, and that you will be able to be talked to and dealt with better. Because if you're not very business savvy, you're probably somebody that can maybe not take advantage of them. I don't know. I always get a lot more calls. Like I'll get 30 calls off a hand. Like if I just sloppily write a sign really fast, I'll get probably 30 times more phone calls on that sign than if I write this like beautiful sign or have a professional sign in the front yard. I don't know why. but that's just the way it is. You can also do flat fee listings. You know, I have, you know, I just have like an internet sign that, you know, like I'll go just the flat fee listing people or whatever. I do that sometimes too. There's also some agents around that will do owner finance. Like if they usually charge like 3%, you know, and if you're getting 10% down for your owner finance transaction, not a big deal. You're going to negotiate the terms and prepare a contract. Contract's super easy. 1 to 4 family that you get off track for free. It's a PDF that you download. Just Google 1 to 4 family. Email me if you need it. I'll send you the link to get it off the track website, TREC. If you're in a state other than Texas, just Google your state 1 to 4 family contract. All of this stuff is for free. You'll also need the addendum for seller financing. So just do seller financing. It's really not very difficult. And when I say negotiate terms, you're going to negotiate stuff like how long the financing lasts, what the interest rate is, you know, which would equal what your monthly payment is and stuff like that. We'll go through that in a second.